In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you.
Boom. Taylor, we are live. How are you?
Good. My husband just handed me about a clothing steamer because I bought stuff that needs to be ironed and I'm absolutely not ironing anything. So I'm excited to see if this works.
I'd be curious to know how it works too, because I only throw my clothes in the dryer and hope that that will press them sufficiently for me.
1,000%. I just bought like a really nice dress and I just put it in the dryer. I was like, hope you come out not wrinkly because I'm not doing anything else.
I did ruin at least one fairly nice polo doing it that way. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
um, so do you wanna do a little intro since I
yes,
remember this time?
hello everyone. Welcome to Doomed to Fail. We bring you history's most notorious disasters and failures, and I'm Taylor, joined by Fars, and today we're going to hear a story from Fars.
I went pretty deep with this one, but it shouldn't be that long of a episode.
Okay,
So,
I'm ready.
so sort of deep. And I'm gonna go through a little bit of history in the US, starting with World War One, that leads up to an event happening in the 1960s that is fairly prescient to modern times. So I'm going to start my conversation here with the topic of when around World War One, the US was kind of focused around the concept of conscientious objectors. Do you know what that is,
Hmm.
Taylor?
Yes.
So basically, for anybody who doesn't, these are folks that, for moral or religious or personal reasons, rejected the idea of picking up arms on behalf of a country and going to war and hurting other people for that cause. Which is a problem in a situation like World War One, where the draft was implemented and forced young men, solely young men, to
Hmm.
go into armed conflicts.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Discussed with the whole women and children first concept, which I vehemently am against, by the way. But so during World War One and under the Selective Service Act of 1917, the only conscientious objectors were those were protected under law because of defined religious affiliations. Think of like the Quakers and the Amish, for example.
Hmm.
So those people were exempt. Everyone else was kind of just out of luck in this situation.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize this, but we treated conscientious objectors like really badly. And during World
Mm.
War One times, folks were thrown into prisons. They were thrown into like work camps. They were like borderline
Oh,
tortured.
you didn't just get to say
Um,
no. You were, even though you weren't going, you still were
yeah,
tortured for not going.
yeah, yeah. Well, because
Can I
it
say
was just seen as like, go ahead, sorry.
something stupid to say? You know how Australia was made by a bunch of criminals?
Yes.
It didn't occur to me until very, very recently that they didn't just send them to Australia and let them go. They sent them to Australia and kept them in jail. And then, like, they were like penal camps
Really?
in Australia. Yeah. I thought they just like dropped them off of the beach.
I,
They did
yeah,
not.
I remember the movie Papillon. Remember that one?
No.
That was like French, but like it was a similar concept. It was Devil's
Butterfly.
Island, and they just released the criminals on this one island. I was like, it's kind of lovely. Like, not being
Right?
opposed
But
to
I don't
that.
think that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
anyway,
Well,
more on
there
that
we
later,
go.
probably.
More on
Okay.
that. Yeah, we'll definitely get into Papillon and Devil's Island later. So yeah, there was two laws, the Espionage Act of 1917 and the Sedition Act of 1918, and those were the laws that if you were refusing service or if you were speaking out against or on behalf of conscientious objectors, you would be subject to like prosecution essentially, which is where a woman who I would consider a great woman comes into this picture. Um, a woman named Crystal Catherine Eastman. Do you know that name?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I didn't either, and I was shocked that I didn't. Like, I was shocked that like what this person did and what she contributed. I had no idea what her name was, and I'll tell you why we don't know her name later on. But
Okay.
Crystal Eastman, kind of an unsung hero in feminist lore in the US. She rose to prominence as a lawyer, focused on pushing forward agendas on feminism, socialism, and anti-military action. So she was staunchly anti-military action, which is like a weird spot to be in when like World War II comes around. Because it's like, I don't know, should you be anti? Like you kind of should be pro-military.
Yeah.
This is the problem that every ideology runs against is like the real world. Like
Right. I mean,
every
you could be like,
ideology.
hey guys, let's just chill out, but like Hitler's not going to chill out.
Yeah, exactly. So her first foray into the public sphere was her work investigating workplace safety for a Pittsburgh newspaper, which shined a light on occupational safety issues in the US. She would go on to become the first woman assigned to the New York Board for Worker Safety as a commissioner, and
Cool.
she would draft the first version of worker compensation laws for New York. So
What
that
year is
was
this?
this would have been the late 1800s, beginning of 1900s.
Nice. It's kind of when TR was like the police commissioner in New York. He would go around and like make sure everything was okay. Like
Yeah.
undercover, but like very clearly still TR, you know? With
It's
like a bigger mustache over his mustache. Be like,
like they're never gonna. Well, then again, all the men probably had mustaches back
me.
then.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
her next area of interest was working on women's suffrage in Wisconsin, which is where she had moved after getting married. She left New York, went to Wisconsin, all that stuff. She would extend this work to being part of the commission that drafted the Equal Rights Amendment at the federal level.
R.I.P.
And she would later found the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, which is apparently the oldest ongoing political party in the country, which I did not know.
Cool.
So
I
kudos to
mean,
her for that.
yeah.
Um, this was when her interest bounced into the peace movement and coincided with the US's involvement in World War One, which is where she would make her biggest and longest lasting legacy, which is a part where we will be shocked that we don't know this woman's name. So she, along with others, founded a thing called the NCLB, which stood for the National Civil Liberties Bureau. Sounds kind of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
familiar-ish almost.
Mm-hmm.
The point of it was to defend conscientious objectors and defend them legally, because she was a lawyer and it was a group of lawyers that founded this organization.
Mm-hmm.
Today, this organization is known as the ACLU.
That's awesome.
This wild, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the part that was nuts about this. So if you go to the ACLU's website,
Mm-hmm.
they start talking about their history as having been founded in the 1920s. There's
Mm-hmm.
no mention of Crystal Eastman in any of this. For whatever reason, the ACLU completely divorced itself from their association with Eastman.
Huh. Do you know why? Are you gonna tell me why? Or you don't know?
There was a why. It was something along the lines of she got into it with like the one of the other founders and then got booted. Like it was something like that. It was some internal political strife that resulted in this history going the way that it went.
Mm-hmm.
So the impetus for the ACLU fundamentally was to protect freedom of speech as a foundational issue, which is a very topical thing these days in the
Oh, you
US.
got there. I see where you are.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that started with conscientious objectors and their supporters, but it quickly evolved into protecting union members, racial
Mm-hmm.
dialogue around civil rights, and they recognized something that is absolutely and obviously being eroded in today's modern America is you should protect the speech you don't like because that's the only speech that
Yes.
requires protection. It's like I don't know
Yes.
why this concept is so hard to. It's like
Right.
there is nothing more
Otherwise, there wouldn't be a
pivotal.
point because you'd be like, yeah, everybody just says nice stuff about me.
Yeah, everything we just agree on everything. It's like yeah,
Yeah.
you that's what. And I'm gonna get to the point here because I'm gonna go into a story that shows how far from this concept we are
Mm-hmm.
based on what happens after the founding of ACLU. So I'm going to talk about this guy named Francis Joseph Collin, who I'm going to refer to from here on out as Frank Joseph.
Okay.
Frank was born to a Jewish German father who survived Dachau, a concentration camp, and an American Catholic mother who the father met after Dachau, after he was a child in Chicago.
Hmm.
So he started his political career by running the Midwestern branch of the American Nazi Party
Jeez.
before having a falling out with the next guy in line to lead the party because the founder was assassinated of the American Nazi Party. Then the next guy in line, it was supposed to be either Frank or this other guy, but that guy discovered that Frank was Jewish, and so he was
Right.
basically excommunicated. Also,
I
the
was going
guy
to bring
they,
that up again because you showed me his dad was at Daco.
yeah,
Okay, cool. I just
his name was Cohen.
the bad
His
Daco,
original
right?
name, yeah,
Okay,
his
I
original
know that.
name was Cohen, and then the dad changed it to Colin when he
Mm-hmm.
got to the US.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting about the American Nazi Party is that that guy's assassin was another member of the party who was like pissed because he was treated badly. Like he was sent to be like, the coffee boy.
The Nazis are being mean to me.
Yeah, he was sent out to be like an errand boy, and he was pissed off about that. That's why he ended up killing the main guy. So it wasn't even like a political thing. It was purely just like this guy's mean to me, and I don't like it anymore. So
What is?
Frank would
Yeah.
move. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just like, the story has just gone so many places.
But I'm taking it there to prove
No,
the
but I
point that
understand.
like when we look at our modern times, like things are so it's like
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Like we have to have dialogues with each other. Like, anyway, okay, so getting back to Frank real quick. So he moves on from that party to founding his own party, the National Socialist Party of America. So another
Hmm.
Nazi group in the
Yes.
US. And Frank's approach to engagement was just being as loud and annoying as possible and organizing rallies and marches, mostly around the Chicago area where he was based.
Is this
Except
when?
for,
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this like Blues Brothers? Is this I hate Illinois Nazis time?
wait, what?
In Blues Brothers, they say I hate Illinois Nazis all the time.
Actually, probably because timing
Yeah.
wise, like it aligns.
Yeah.
So there was one time when he wanted to hold a rally, whatever you want to call it, in a town 15 miles outside of Chicago called Skokie, Illinois.
Hmm.
So Skokie had a reputation of being one of the most Jewish cities in America, with about 60% of its population being Jewish. In the 1960s, of that 60% being Jewish, 10% of them, sorry, out of the entire population, 10% were Holocaust survivors.
Wow.
And he was going to hold a Nazi rally there. So it's for this reason that in 1977 and 78, when Frank decided to hold his rally in Skokie, the village, the city, denied his permit to do so. He appealed the decision, which is when the ACLU steps in on behalf of Frank.
Of
Again, one
course.
of the
Yeah.
most liberal organizations in the world.
But
And on behalf of Frank, files a lawsuit called the National Socialist Party of America versus the village of Skokie. What was the but?
no, it's exactly what you're saying. Like you should need to defend everyone's right to free speech. Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
should be a conversation. Like you, if you only talk to yourselves,
No, totally.
what do
It
you
doesn't make any
learn?
sense. Hmm.
This is the part that absolutely caved my head in. His lawyer from the ACLU, the one that's there to defend the Nazi Party in a Holocaust town in Skokie, Illinois, is a guy named David Goldberger.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like,
no, I hear that. It's also when like who did John Adams um represented the soldiers in the the Boston Massacre?
yes,
Like that.
yes, it's the exact
He was
same
like he's
concept.
like they have the right to have a lawyer, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So this guy, David Goldberger, on behalf of the ACLU, he argues that denying the permanent infringes on these guys' freedom of speech, the appellate court in Illinois and the state Supreme Court denied review of the case outright. It goes up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says you can't do that because if you start doing that for this guy, what does that mean for every other guy that comes after this guy? Whether
Right.
we like it or not. And sends it back to the lower courts saying you got to have, like, if you're going to do this, there has to be guardrails in place. You look like you're going to say something.
No, keep going.
And so that's what they did. They heard both sides of the argument. And the argument was, okay, fine. Like the village was like, fine, we'll let them do it, but they can't display swastikas everywhere because that's going to cause harm to people to see that, given their experiences in
Yeah.
Holocaust camps. And the Supreme Court or the state court denied that and was like, no, like on its own, like this is part of free speech and you
Hmm.
can't amend it. It actually ultimately didn't matter because he ended up just being like, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this in Skokie. I'm just going to go to Chicago and do it. What's
Right.
interesting is that a later president, like 13 years later, her name's Nadine Strawson, was a president of the ACLU. And what she said is that the same laws and the tactics being used against these people were the same tactics being used against MLK Jr. when he was
Hmm.
trying to argue for civil liberties and civil rights. So, like,
Right.
what,
Saying
what
that
I'm
he
getting
couldn't
at,
do his things in places and all that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. In fact, there was one situation where one of the parks these guys marched in, MLK marched in like 20 years earlier, and
Hmm.
he didn't get a permit, and so police were like throwing bricks at his face. Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is like this whole thing of like let's just find our silos and we're safe and comfortable in our silos. Like the guy's name, he was James Goldberger for the ACLU defending this guy. Like you
I
can't.
do think that he should have potentially seen a therapist.
It doesn't work. We already discussed on the last episode.
It does work,
Um,
and it just like something else is going on with that guy, right?
which guy?
With Frank. Like, what's his deal?
But
Why is he like
okay,
this?
okay, but like again, like that's why I kind of like started where I started was to give you a picture of like how something like a Crystal Eastman and like who she is as a human being leads to this outcome and like why that arc is rational. It makes sense so that
Well, I
people
think
can hopefully wake up and look around at themselves and be like, dude, we're kind of in this thing together, and this whole like we're enemies and we got to fight each other, and like whoever you don't like, they shouldn't talk anymore.
right,
It's
right.
ballistically stupid.
Totally. I'm just saying that like what is Frank's deal that he became a Nazi?
There has to be self-hate. There
Yeah.
has to be self-hate.
Yeah.
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 There has to be some because yeah, like I said, like the dad changed the name. Their name wasn't Colin, it was Cohen.
Yeah, yeah.
And also Frank's grandparents all died in Dachau. The dad was the only one that got out.
Yeah, that's it's a strange path to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also agree that like, you should be you're allowed to say stuff. You should
I would go further. I would say you're not just allowed to say stuff, you should be encouraged to engage with stuff you don't want to know and hear.
yeah.
And I think it's too easy now for people not to do that. In my mind, I'm like, this is like, yeah, like that is a massive divide, and that is a chasm that, yeah, bad chasm.
I feel bad that you didn't know the rapture was today.
Again, I don't know where you get your media from.
We
Like,
have we have very different feeds.
we have very different feeds. I do like though when I meet someone who has the exact same feed that I do because it's like the same cat videos going back and forth, left and right.
That's so funny.
So anyways, that's my story. I started with Crystal Eastman, got to this guy Frank, got to the ACLU, got to the Supreme Court case, and hopefully it like shows that like these things don't just happen because it's like you want it to happen the way you want it to happen. It happened over a fairly long history in a central belief and I don't know, a core tenet of America. So
Yeah. No, I
hopefully
hear
people
that.
take something away from that, but I doubt they will. We'll see.
Maybe. I hope they do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so easy to be in a silo of information. I'm looking at my feed. I guess I don't see anything about the rapture. Maybe it didn't happen. Just kidding.
You mean the poster? Well, so anyways, that's what I was this shit's been heavy on my mind for a very long time now, or
Yeah,
recently. And I am probably going to be going down rabbit hole like this for a while because
that makes
I don't
sense.
know.
It's interesting. And also like, it continues to I don't know, like the problems are all very similar from all time.
I think the problem is that the technology changed.
Yes, that's fair.
And
Like, how
now,
nice would
like,
it be to not know the news and just like find out in the morning when you get your paper, and then maybe something crazy happened. Someone would like yell in the street.
dude, you hear this all the time about like why is it that like a lot of like the m main big cities are more like progressive
Hmm.
and less like prone to like racism and whatever. And so much of the research that comes out of that is because you got to go to work with these people. You got to be in the subway with them. You got to like be at a deli with them. You got to actually engage with them. And like now you can sit in your house and just scroll and
Hmm.
see all the other people that think the same shit you think.
And
And you
then it
never
just
have to.
feeds you. It feeds you more of it. I'm always like, what am I looking at? Like, my Instagram feed is half people I don't even follow. They just like show up.
Yeah, like you can't humanize the other perspective because you don't have to. And
Hmm.
that's whatever. It's a shitty outcome.
It is
But
very shitty. I
so
did see something that a good option for male loneliness is for them to start bands, and maybe you could have more rock bands. And I
there's
think
a
there should be
lot of
more.
that.
There should be more ska bands.
So
So what if
I
you
do get
started a ska
advertised
band?
I do get advertised now for like men's only yoga sessions in the park and men's
That's
only this and
fun.
that. And like there is something to that as well. But I guess like all of it boils down to like actually like looking someone in the eyes so you can see that they're actually a human being as opposed to just like image, like a profile
Yeah, if you
picture.
don't see anyone, like there's people who don't see anyone.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
possible now. I guess maybe, I mean, in different extremes, it's always been possible, but now you can really, do a lot without ever getting near another human being.
Yeah. So anywho, I know it was a short one and I painted a really windy path, but hopefully
No, I like it. That's fun. I like it. I like it.
so
Thank you
anywho,
for sharing.
yeah, thank you for listening and thank you
No
all for
problem.
listening. And do we have any more listener mail?
I do. I have another one from Morgan who said that after COVID, like when people started going back to the office, things like standing water were a problem. Like we talked about Legionnaire's disease because people hadn't been like actively using the plumbing in buildings, which
Ooh,
totally
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense. That
You
makes
know?
sense.
And I remember when I first moved to Las Vegas, like our house was really dry because no one was living in it and it was empty and it was brand new. So we would get like electric shocked constantly. You know what I mean? When it was like just because it was like
Static air.
extra, yeah, it was like extra staticky because there was like if you aren't actively using the water in a house in a place that's so dry, it's just going to get like so much more dry.
Weird. I didn't know that. It
And
does make
then
sense.
yeah, so there's that. So, did you throw away your little humidifiers yet?
Rachel
Okay,
picked it up from there and put it in the it's next to the trash can.
okay, great. Put it in the trash can. Don't
We'll
cry.
put it in the trash can.
Um, and then I did talk to my parents. They did know a young woman in college who died because they were at a bar. My parents weren't there, but they knew the people involved. A guy who was happened to be underage, but he didn't go to jail. So he must have been like 17 because I think the drinking age, like just I think when my parents were in college in the late 1970s, the drinking age in Illinois changed to 21, but in Wisconsin it was still 18, and they
That makes
were
sense.
but there was a lot of accidents because they went to Northern Illinois University and people would just go for the border, and like drink and then they got in accidents. But there was a young man who threw a bottle, the bottle shattered, and part of the glass sliced the jugular of another college student, and she died. And the friends that they know that were there, they were like, the bar was just covered in blood. It was awful. It was
Jeez.
terrible.
Did he go to jail? You said he didn't go to jail?
No, my mom said he didn't because like they like were able to somehow prove that it was I mean, obviously it was an accident, but like still, he helped her. It was
Jeez,
awful.
that's rough.
So just wanted to confirm that story from my parents. And then my last thing is we got an email today, um, from Justin saying thank you for the re-releases and thank you, Justin, for listening.
Thank you, Justin. And please write to us. We do love that. At doingitfellpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, pod all the socials.
You know, I literally had a moment where like I stroked out for a second. I thought I said last podcast email
That has happened
address.
to me like 1,000 times. Like it is, it is not an active thing to not say last podcast sometimes, like because I hear it so much.
I,
I
I,
was
Right when I said it, I was like, did I say our name or their name?
I've definitely done that. I've definitely. We've done. I've been listening to some older ones, and they're very fun. Older last podcasts.
You were right though. The Aaron Hernandez one was pretty good.
It's pretty good. I laughed really hard in a lot of places in a very, very horrible subject to laugh.
It's such a it's weird. It's one of those like subjects that's like forever fascinating.
Yeah, just it's basically talking a lot about CTE, and I was looking at there's like a lot of little kids here that play football, and I see them and they're so small and they have their helmets on, and I'm like, not enough, you know?
Did you see that movie with Will Smith about
I
the
did not.
doctor? Yeah, I didn't
No.
see it either.
Um,
I should.
but also the thing that they mentioned regarding CTE is that like there might be like a headband that can like help if it like is connected. I can imagine it's connected to the inside of the helmet. I did not look this up at all, but I do remember a long time ago reading an article that they're studying woodpeckers because woodpeckers, their
Yeah.
heads go like they do that insane shaking, but their brains are protected by something happening in their skull. So if they can like emulate that to have like the helmet, because the helmet does not take the impact like you think it does.
It's their tongue. So if you look at like
Mm.
their cross section of their skull, their tongue's crazy long and it goes
Yeah.
all the way and wraps around the brain. And so when they do it, that's so it's between the bone and the brain, not between the skin and the bone.
Right. But you can't do that for a person.
Yeah, you could make them all have brain surgery.
Woodpecker head cross section. Ew. Anyway,
Now you know.
I guess now I know.
Um, Sweet. Well, we can go ahead and cut it off there. Are you all good?
Ew. Ew.
Never mind.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
All right. See ya.